what is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video. We're back in Windland Adventure Resort. Excited for this episode because we're going to be starting on the entrance for the park. So this is going to be our City Walk inspired section. It is going to be inspired by City Walk and Universal Orlando Resort. So this is basically the entrance to our two parks, or in the future it's going to be three parks, but it's going to be it's basically the entrance area. This is going to be our entrance plaza basically for the park. So it's going to be the park entrances, lead us to the park entrances basically. So I went really full on with the inspiration, of course, from Universal Resort, because obviously they have that little walkway that goes over the path, and it has the sign "Welcome to Universal Orlando Resort." We kind of did the same style here, almost like completely replicated it here by adding, you know, the same text and everything, except obviously it's going to say "Welcome to Windland Adventure Resort" rather than Universal Orlando. And it turned out really, really nice, and it was very close. It turned out really close to that Orlando inspiration as well. But the rest of the entrance, you may have seen, of course, in the little bit of the footage at the beginning of what the final product looks like, but I did try to make it look a lot different in the rest of the areas, and I tried to get it a little bit more flavor going into here. This is our first episode since the last big update. Last episode, they hadn't updated it with the custom media files and all the updates that we got in there. So this is all... this is the first episode where we have worked on the park since that update. So we are going to get some custom media into this episode. You may have seen it a little bit, potentially a little sneak peek of that. I know I wanted to work on the buses. I am going to do a little bit more testing on that. I'm not ready just yet to work on the buses with the custom media and getting those attached to the buses just yet. We are going to get hopefully maybe a little bit into that in the next episode. We'll see. It just kind of depends on where we're at. But we get this entrance area kind of complete here, and we're going to have a walkway on the top here because we're going to have two different levels for this little City Walk section. I think we're going to call this area Windland Village or something along those lines. So it's not going to be anything called nearly called like City Walk or anything like that. You know, I don't want to get completely sued by Universal or anything like that for this park when we're building it. So anyways, we do end up building this. We're going to build an awesome Universal kind of style theater. So the theater, when I say Universal, I don't mean Universal Studios. I mean like Universal as in it can be used as like a movie theater, or it can also be used as a stage as well, you know, kind of like live theater as well. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid kind of theater that can be used for different things. It's kind of like one of those theaters, hybrid theaters, that just kind of you can use for different events. So it's going to be kind of like an event theater. So if we want to have movies playing, we can have an event where, you know, like awesome movies are playing. I think it'd be a good, cool theater to have for like some releases of some like blockbuster films and such like that. And that's what we're getting into right now, is this awesome theater front for this park, because I think Universal actually does have a theater in City Walk as well. I've never actually been in it or anything like that. I've just seen it off to the side. I've never actually been in there, even though I've gone multiple times. But that's kind of the inspiration here. There's not really much inspiration of this theater front, for instance. I just wanted to make, I did want a theater here. It's just going to be a little bit different than what, you know, obviously what Universal has. I'm still doing my own thing, but Universal is still the main inspiration for the park and the City Walk area, but I'm still, of course, making it my own at the exact same time. So that is the cool part of that. When you do have stuff with inspiration, you kind of put your own spin on it and kind of make it the way you would like to, which is awesome. So to get this building started, I kind of worked a little bit more on the shaping first before we went into detailing and colors. It is mostly going to maintain this white color, but it's also going to have some grays in there as well, and have kind of like a white gray dual tone to it. And I wanted to do something a little special for the walkways too. I didn't want the walkways to be super boring, so we have like these little patterns, almost like a red carpet that kind of utilizes for that will lead up into the buildings, and then the back part of those will just be normal, pathways, like little regular gray pathways. But the entrances to these buildings are going to have like these little red carpets. It's kind of very, I guess, Hollywood kind of style, I guess. I don't know exactly if that's the thing, but like I wanted to make sure that they aren't looking, too bland. However, I might change it up a little bit. I'm not sure if I exactly completely am satisfied with how it turned out. I might do a little bit of a different design on the pathway. I just haven't figured it out yet. I might update it just a bit. I'm not entirely sure. So this is going to be the Windland Theater. I did like this little round text style going around the entrance here. So it's going to be the main theater. I think we're going to have a few other theaters inside the main parts of the park. So the parks are going to have their own theaters, but this is going to be kind of like the main event theater for the entire resort. So if we want to make big announcements, or again play some awesome movies and such like that, or have different events, this is going to be the place for that. It's going to be incredible. I love how it actually ended up turning out. I didn't have a whole lot of inspiration. I tried to bring up like different movie theaters, but this, for the most part, this theater was kind of built up mostly with my imagination. I didn't actually have much inspiration for the front of this theater. I just kind of started making some shapes and I ended up liking how they looked. So that's kind of how this comes up. And I know I've been saying throughout that I was going to make this every building, everything's going to be based off of something, have inspiration in this park. And that's true for the most part. But for this building, I actually kind of just built it based off of my own like creative things, which I don't usually want to do because they don't end up turning out the way I'd want them to. But this building in particular didn't turn out too bad. We could still touch it up a little bit here and there, but I have some placeholders, these video billboards. Obviously with the new update, those are going to be placeholders. I'm going to try and put something custom in there, but for right now we're just going to have like a placeholder for those. Obviously the in-game videos are going to have to do for now until we get something a little bit better in there. So that's gonna, those are going to be, and then same with these like little billboards here. We're just going to have some placeholders and those for now until we get something a little bit better. So that's going to be the idea behind those, and that theater as a whole is kind of how it's going to turn out. So really happy with how that was kind of turned out overall for the most part. And then just connecting the pathway with the sidewalk, I think it turned out fantastic. I'm pretty happy with all that. And of course we had to fill in this area with some other buildings as well, so I was thinking like, oh, obviously we need like a tickets and information building that we're gonna put in also, and we'll go from there. And I also have to figure out what I'm gonna do with that pathway that's literally right up next to the roof of this building. So that's something I haven't figured out just yet. I haven't actually planned that out. I think we're gonna have it turn left and be just on the side of the building a little bit, and that will continue around where we'll have some other shops and such. And I might actually have a stairway or like something along those lines to get up to that level somewhere around there. So that's going to be with how that's going to go. And then of course we built you'll see later in the video that we built this awesome Joe's Barbecue restaurant. You may have seen it a little bit in the footage at the beginning. That's going to be the building on the left side, so we can build a really cool restaurant overall for that. It will be really, really neat. I'm very excited for that. And we're just going to have some cool restaurants, some gift shops around, and just overall a really cool vibing area that could potentially be open 24 hours. Unlike the parks will obviously have closing times, but I think City Walk for the most part is open 24 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think all the shops and stuff stay open at all times. Obviously the parks are open 365 days a year, so really cool how all that works overall. And this is going to be kind of that same style park. This is a park, these parks will be open year round. That's kind of the idea. Very, very exciting. I'm just so happy to be inside, outside not doing parking lots right now. You know what I mean? That's what I'm excited about. I'm not working on a parking lot at the moment, and that is really exciting for me. And then, as you can see here, we get a little bit into a little bit of custom media that I think I was putting it in on the spot, so we had them. And we have the different logos for each park, and also the resort logo itself, which is the middle. We have Paradise Adventures, the water park. Universe Adventure is the main park as well. So I kind of put those logos up in here for the Windland Theater, above the Windland Theater, just as kind of a decorative piece. So we can see all the different logos there. They look pretty nice up there, so I think they turned out really good too. You know, overall, just having those logos on, it's really cool to have your own logos into the game, and custom media is something that I really wanted. So I waited until the announcement of when that's why I was waiting. Once I knew that it was confirmed that was coming very soon in this update, that's why I waited to do this park. And then when I heard that custom media is coming, that's when I was like, yes, you know. And then we got to do a little bit of cool lighting, because this is going to have to feel alive at night. So everything's got to be lit really well at night. So we have to have some really nice light packages for the entire park as a whole. So we need to make sure everything is lit up nicely, and that way at night people can see where they're going. Of course, we have to have a lot of nice lamps and everything, and all those pieces that are involved in a place like this. So building off of the theater, sorry, I just had a complete brain fart there. The theater, we're going to build a little side building that's connected to that, and that is going to be our tickets and information building. So you can go buy tickets for the parks, you can get information about the parks and resorts, and just overall, just more so the resort information, and also where you can buy annual passes, you can do all that. Or if you have any different things, like if you have, you know, vouchers you need to renew or something like that to get into the park and such like that, or like if you have an employee or you work for the company maybe somewhere else, and like maybe you have to go get your tickets, stuff like that. That's basically what this building is going to be for, is to purchase all those things, and also just general information for our park goers and everything. So that's going to be the idea of that. I figured it'd be a good place to put it is right out front, and I think that'd be great as well. I was also kind of thinking as well if I should set up some small security booths as well, so like the guests have to go through security before they go through the entrance of City Walk. I thought about doing something like that, but I didn't take it into account at first, so I didn't really plan for it, and it kind of was an afterthought, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it now. Maybe we will still. I was thinking about on the sidewalks leading up to the park, maybe we could have like some small booths for security, but if we're pulling some really big crowds, that wouldn't be very realistic overall, I don't think. But maybe it is, I don't know, maybe it will work. Maybe if we get creative, we can create some bigger sections for like security going up into this. I'm not entirely sure, but then of course you have the buses that drop off right at the front, so it's like, how are they going to go through security if they're up there? You know, they would have to be behind the bus stops. You know, I might just leave it out. I'm not entirely sure yet. Maybe we figure something out. Maybe I can put it in the entrance area, like right at the entrance. I'm not sure. It just kind of depends on, I just haven't really, you know, overall decided on that yet. Let me know if you guys have any ideas about that, if we should do like a security booth or security something overall. But I love that we have the rounded custom images now, like the video billboards, where we can have rounded pieces now, because that fits perfectly with the logo. So like it actually kind of cuts the logo out pretty well. I'm pretty happy about that. I think that was really, really neat, and I think it turned out pretty cool. So yeah, getting a little ventilation details in here as well. For some reason, I don't think it saved any of these people. Last time I went in there, some of those weren't in there. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back and go back and look. I feel like something didn't save, but maybe I'm just going crazy. We'll see in the, I guess, the back part of the footage, because we're about to go to some other footage pieces here, because I did, I think I did 4 separate recordings for this episode when it comes to the time lapses. So here's the new time lapse. And I think in here, yeah, we're gonna start on the barbecue restaurant, which is going to be dubbed Joe's Barbecue. So this is a nice little cozy little barbecue building that's gonna be off to the side. It's gonna be a restaurant. This is gonna be our first restaurant that we see in the City Walk section, which will be really, really cool. I wanted to get creative a little bit with the shaping here. It turned out really good, and honestly, the details on it were pretty straightforward, and I think I ended up doing a pretty good job with this. I did try to make the windows kind of look good. I mean, I could have made windows to look inside, but I didn't do that because obviously we're not really focusing on interiors in this park. The only interiors we're gonna focus on are like the dark rides and such like that. So that's the main thing that we're gonna work on is the dark rides. But since we for like restaurants and such, we're probably not going to be doing many interiors or very simplistic interiors, at least for now. We're going to see how the frame rates are after we get most of the park done, or the whole resort done. So and then at that point, if it's pretty good, we can maybe potentially you know, look at the possibility of doing some interiors. But for right now, I think we're going to kind of exclude the interiors of these buildings, just because of how large of a project this is, and I don't want the piece count to get too high. So I obviously want to keep the piece count is going to be high. It's going to be high, no matter what. It already is high. So sorry, console players. You know, I apologize in advance, but like only PC players are going to be able to open this park up with the share code and everything, if not already. I'm not even. I think I might already be past the potentially the limit for consoles. Maybe, I'm not sure. So yeah, we are going to get this entrance here. I wanted to make a nice little cover here, and then over on the side we're gonna have the nice little the name of the restaurant and everything like that. It's gonna look really, really cool. And then we have everything's gonna connect with the pathing and all that. So we did make a little revision here later on. You'll see, we'll talk about that later once we get to it. But here for the restaurant, I also put in not just we put in not just chief beef. We put a chief beef and a gold beef, but we also put a Viva La Vegan and a So Delightful. That way we can keep our guests happy. So those of them that want the vegan selection will also have the vegan selection in that restaurant as well. That way we can keep everyone, all our guests, in a good mood, because you actually have to account for that with your guests. Now, I know this is a sandbox park, but I'm still trying to make it as practical and realistic as I can for the guest happiness and everything like that. So I think it's very, very important, of course. And also put in a staff room for our staff, because they'll still want to do that even in sandbox. We do need to focus on that. We don't have to worry about electricity or water since we are in that, but I still might add those pieces. I'm not entirely sure just yet. It doesn't really matter, but like I think it would be cool to have this in like a scenario editor, and like if we finish this and then they release a scenario editor to where you can open parks as a scenario, that would be pretty awesome. So if we do that, that would be pretty cool. I'd love to make like some objectives and such like that. I hope we get a scenario editor. I hope that's something they bring back. So Frontier, I know you kind of I think they watch my videos, but if you guys are watching my videos, I would love to see a scenario editor like in Planet Coaster 1, where we can create scenarios, make our park builds bigger so you can make the lands bigger. And we also need more biomes. That's something that we also need. I would love to see more biomes. An ocean biome would be fantastic, and just overall larger parks so we can fit a lot more into it. So I'm not stressing if I'm doing a recreation. I don't want to be stressing if I can fit the whole park in. You know what I'm saying? We need to make sure it's all good. That's for sure. But yeah, this restaurant turned out really good. I'm pretty happy how it turned out. Detailing wise, I've kept it pretty simple, but like it still turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I think there's like a restaurant off to the left, and that's kind of like was my base inspiration for it. So it is kind of inspired by that. It's not a barbecue restaurant, but like I decided to make mine a barbecue restaurant. I just feel like that's the vibes that I had here. So this is going to be the first. The name, the City Walk's going to have a lot of different names in it, and this is going to be the first one, which is Joe's, obviously, which is me. We might do some Easter egg names of people that are associated with the channel and such. I think it'd be really funny. Like maybe we get a few others in there, like for some restaurant names or some gift shop names and stuff like that. I think it'd be really, really neat just to have. I think a lot of big park projects will throw in Easter eggs in their parks like that. I think it's really fun, creative. I remember back in, I know a lot of you might cry when I say this, but in the Red River Valley project, which never ended up being finished, I remember Gunner, who was collaborating with me at the time, he always said how he hated greasy pizza and such like that. So I made a pizza place called Gunner's Greasy Pizza or something like that. It was something like that because it was funny, you know, like little things like that. I love little Easter eggs like that. It's always fun to include such stuff like that. You know, just sometimes inside jokes too, which is always fun. You can have some inside jokes and hidden in there that other people won't realize, but like you and one other might get it. You know, it's always fun to do that. So I want everything you see right here, though, to completely disappear from your mind, because everything right here we're going to change here in the next clip here soon, because we did do some testing. I actually did testing off screen during a live stream where we were testing out the barriers and the guest flow. So we are actually testing to see if the guests can make it to the entrance without crossing into the street and such. So we had to use some barriers and like ribbon posts. You'll see it at the end of the episode. And there was an issue we had right here with it. And apparently these barriers are a little glitchy, so you have to use the ribbon barriers, which is what I ended up using instead in the end. So I ended up deleting those old barriers. I didn't know they were glitched out until people in the stream told me so. So they said the ribbon barriers are the better ones to use, and the short ribbon barriers. Don't use the long one, use the short ones. They're the best and most efficient, that work the best overall. So that's what I went with in the end of everything here. And since we tested the park flow, having this little eating area with the benches, park benches, did not work very well. So we ended up in the next clip, the first thing we do here soon is actually move them to the back side of the restaurant, which actually ended up being just fine, and I think it turned out just fine as well, which we'll see how that looks in just a little bit here. So yeah, so once we get into that, you can see here that the first thing we do in this clip is we're gonna actually move everything back behind here, and I think it works a little bit for guest flow a little bit better, because we're really trying to utilize how the guest flow works in here, which is very important, of course. So how are they going to flow into here? Because guests entering the park were trying to cut across, and I had to put barriers there, and then they would get stuck because the barriers are a little glitchy. So we had to adjust it a little bit, and we're going to have to do some further testing, but I think we're in a pretty good spot right now of where it's at, and I think we got it figured out, for the most part, where we want our guests to go as of right now. So pretty excited of how all that looks, how that turned out, and it was a little bit of trial and error, to be honest, and honestly, it was worth it figuring it out, even though it took some time. But I'm really happy that it did work out. And these little custom fences, by the way, I just love. They're very simple, and they're barely even custom, because it just uses the just a fence in the game that is already in the game, and I just added some wooden planks on either side of them, and boom, you got a custom fence. You know, sometimes you can make a custom fence out of the in-game fences. You just kind of customize the own fences in there. You know, that's kind of how I do it, you know. And then another tip here is, if you have empty spaces like this, just throw in some planters and some plants, and it can look fantastic. I will tell you that much right now. It can look fantastic. So that's what we did here, up against the pathway, and we had a little bit of a gap there. I could put more pathway there, but I decided to just make it a nice little planter area. It's good to have these around your park to just kind of spice your park up a bit to make it look really, really nice, and you can never have enough of them. I mean, it looks really, really nice, especially after you get some actually foliage and some plants and obviously some trees in there. They can really add a lot of character and a lot of atmosphere to your parks, and of course some free shade using trees. Having trees around can create some shady areas, which is really, really nice. So I knew in this episode I hadn't worked on the other resort hotel, Paradise Hotel, in a while, resort. So we decided to go in and do a little bit of details. We weren't going to leave it hanging in this episode because I knew I said I needed to work on it, but I never did. So we did go ahead and do a little bit of the AC units on the top and like those little details. We do need to do a lot of details in the front of the resort though, and a little bit of the side of the buildings are a little bit bare. So once we get some of those kind of taken care of, I think this resort will pretty much be done. We already got the pool in there. We just need to add some more guest spawn points also in the inside of the resort. So that's something we're going to do. So we have guests coming from that hotel as well. And then on the backside of this episode, we're going to focus on getting these lines done, because we had a little bit of some traffic lines we still hadn't done yet, just as of yet on this. So we needed to make sure we get those in there. So we just kind of get those finished up. That way, pretty much the parking lot is almost 100% finished. Like when it comes to like, you know, there's still a few other things pending. I think I need to add a few more details to the parking garage, like actual parking spaces. I hadn't actually do that yet. At least on the top floor, the top floor of the parking garage needs to have lines. The rest of it, you're not going to really see unless you walk in there. The parking garage was more of the way to cover up my my tractor rides and such. So another cool thing that we did test was actually attaching like some car pieces to the tractor rides, so it looks like we have cars driving around in the parking lot. I did do that first test during off screen during this, so that worked out really good. I don't know if you in the live stream or in this clip, I don't know if you can see it at all at any point. Probably not, because I usually play with the game paused most of the time, so you probably don't see anything moving around too much when it comes to that. But yeah, I decided to put another planter on this side of the plaza. That way we kind of rounded it out pretty well, so we have a good entrance area to work off of and build off of in the future. So I can't wait till we get past that little archway, that little walkway, go underneath it, and then we're gonna do a lot of cool stuff. I think we're gonna put like a centerpiece maybe right in the front of that, and then like just have like a sign for the whole area, because it's going to be called Windland Village, I think. So that would be such a cool moment for people coming into the park for the first time, and it's going to be kind of like that cool photo op that you have. I don't know if we'll do something like the Universal Studios Globe or something like that. Maybe we will. It could be an idea, but I'm not entirely sure just yet. We'll have to do something iconic, like a good photo opportunity and everything like that. So going into the last part of this, I wanted to create a nice lamppost, a custom lamppost that will have like some banners on it, some custom banners. They're gonna have placeholders for now until we get something actually in there, but we do end up putting in these nice lights, and we're gonna put these around the city walk area, so we're gonna reuse this lamppost everywhere. But it's gonna have some custom banners where I'll create some custom art for something like that for the banners, so we can put some really cool like maybe some logos on it or something along those lines, something that'll fit on that banner overall. And it took me a while. I wanted to put like a little center piece on the top of this lamp. It took me a while to find what I wanted to put on here, but we did finally find something that worked fairly decent, I think. It just took us a little bit of time and scrolling through a lot of the scenery pieces until I said, hey, that would work pretty well. We went through like some of those pots, we went through other lamps, and I ended up going with a lamp to put it on top, so to add a little bit more light that it will give out, which will actually be pretty cool. And then we have the video billboards that will go on here. We're gonna put a static image, and it will just be kind of like a little banner on these lampposts that you see a lot. So that's gonna about do it for this episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be heading into the real-time section, so the video is not over, but that's gonna about do it for this time lapse. And so we'll get into the real-time section and see what we worked on here, so other Joe can explain everything else here. All right, guys, we are in the real-time section, so let's check out what we did in this episode. So I'm going to explain a few things as we go into here. So obviously, we have officially started on the City Walk section of the park. That includes this theater, the tickets and information booth, and this awesome barbecue restaurant. So we've been working on that. We also worked and finished up all of these lines for the parking lot. Fantastic, by the way. So the parking lot is looking a-okay. We still have a little bit to do on the Paradise Resort, but we did get a few of the air conduits, the air duct systems, as a little detail here in this episode. I probably should have done a little more on that, but that's all right. I just really wanted to focus a little bit starting on the City Walk section. Now, everything here is still a work in progress. I could change it up a little bit. There is a tree. There we go. All right. And I am really proud of how these lanterns turned out, these custom lamps. Obviously, we're going to change these banners into something that fits the park, because they are custom, and we're going to end up putting in our own custom media at some point for that. And yeah, so we have Joe's Barbecue here, which I decided to use my own name. I figure it had a nice little vibe to it. I'm not going to be working... We're not going to be doing too much interiors in this build just yet. I might do interiors later on, but for right now, we're not going to be doing too many interiors. For right now, we're just going to focus on these right here. And, you know, just do a little bit, but we're not going to do like full-on interiors, mostly because of how big and the size the park is. We'll have to wait and see. Now, in the time lapse, we did have the seating area originally right here, but we moved it over here because I'm going to explain here in a second why we did that. You might have noticed all these ribbon barriers, and that is because you may have seen in the last episode, I have learned that the ribbon barriers are the best for the barriers for the guest, and they are the most effective. The big barriers actually are a little glitchy, and sometimes the guests will stop, but we did do some extensive testing, and I did get this path to work pretty well. We haven't put it under the ground yet, just because in case we need to make some adjustments later, and I still have some to build on this side, so we don't want people wandering off into the parking lot. We did do some tests, and I got it working pretty well so far. So you might see these barriers and go, why are those there? That is why, because we are working on kind of like guest navigation for the guests that are spawning in. I want to make sure they're taking the correct walkway. I would love if we had some terrain painting. I do wish we had some concrete or tarmac that we could use like in Planet Coaster 1 and just paint on the roads and everything, but unfortunately we don't have that option in Planet Coaster 2, so I did have to use pathways, so guests are going to want to walk on them naturally. So anyways, so that is what we had to do there. I did that off screen actually during a live stream, which is quite interesting, so that's pretty cool. We did do these cool planters. We are going to add more in the middle of the paths. By the way, I'm not going to keep this lamp right here. We're going to move it around, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want to place them. We might do some more like planters and stuff for this really wide open path, just because there's so much here. I might put in some like little bumper pieces, so like you have cars, so cars can't drive into the park, kind of like you see a lot of. So like have little pieces there. We'll probably add that. We will add some more details here, and then that will be the entrance area going into the city walk section, which will span from here. We're going to go back behind the theater. There's going to be some buildings set up here, and maybe a little up close up to the hotel here, and then we'll work our way a little bit this way where you can see like the terrain paint. I painted kind of where I want the city walk to go. It will kind of go up against right here, and then we'll have the water park entrance right around here somewhere where you're looking at, and then we're gonna have the main park somewhere over here in the middle. So and then we'll have an expansion area for when we anytime we want to build the third park, as soon as we have that option. So that would be fantastic. I'm very excited to finally get in the park. I know you guys are too, but the city walk area is kind of our first taste of that. Obviously it's not technically inside either of the parks, but it is going to get us the start. It's part of the park, it's part of the resort. So we are going to be doing like buildings, restaurants, shops, facilities, different things like that, and we're going to have a second level up here, kind of like Universal, where we're going to have like some double-decker buildings here where we're going to have like shops at the top here. It's going to be really cool. It probably won't be as big as the actual city walk in real life, but obviously that's the huge inspiration that we're taking from as we lead up into our parks. Now, I think I mentioned in the last episode, we will probably start on the water park first and get the water park built before we move on to the main part of the park. That allows us to actually get some more updates in, because we're going to be getting some free updates before we get to those amazing dark rides, because I would love for some to get some more updates and get more of the game fixed, or more of the bugs fixed and everything like that. So the game is in a really good shape by hopefully by the time we get into that. So these next quite a few episodes, we're probably going to be working a lot in the city walk section, and also continuing to work on the second resort as well. The second resort doesn't need a ton more work, but I just need to detail like a little bit more of the entrances. The side of the buildings here are really plain, so we're gonna work on that a bit, and just maybe make like a make it look a little bit better overall and get some of those details in. But yeah, that's about it, what we did for this episode. I know I'm a slow builder, so I feel like I didn't get a ton done, but at least we got an entrance for the park getting ready. We have that that sign that resembles obviously a lot of Universal Orlando Resort. And one quick thing is we're going to test how the lighting is, because I did do a little bit of lighting. Obviously we need to do more. I didn't do much. I didn't know how much this was going to light up, but obviously we were going to do a little extra lighting for the restaurant. It needs a little bit more, but you can see the lighting over here on these buildings are really well lit. We also have our custom textures that we put in for those. They look fantastic with our logos on them. Same with these. We're going to put something, these are just placeholders until I get something better for that. And then of course we lit up the sign as well. It's going to look fantastic when it's all said and done. I can't wait. We're going to have some really good light packages. Everything's going to look fantastic, and I cannot wait. So next episode, we're probably going to start to get a little bit on the inside of the other side of this and get some more shops and facilities built. So I can't wait to share that with you guys next week. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. That's gonna do it for this episode. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe for more amazing content like this, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys, and goodbye.